Hello everyone, welcome along to Zandvoort, the track beside the north coast of Holland for the first race of TCR Europe. It is our third weekend of the championship, having been in Slovakia and at Circuit Paul Ricard just a couple of weekends ago in the south of France. And there is a beautiful grid of 21 TCR cars about to do battle. I can tell you that the skies have started to open a little bit. We had absolutely torrential rain for free practice 2 yesterday, and in fact it was cut short by about 15 minutes. And the weather there is not too bad actually, 16, 17 degrees, certainly not the seaside summer that you would hope from Zandvoort, and the track temperature fair to middling. But there is a little bit of rain in the air. The tyres are on the grid in case it gets a little bit harder, but ultimately we are still on slick tyres, and it is a debut pole position for Jack Young, who is really in his first full season of TCR. He did a couple of races in various different championships last year, but is the Clio Cup UK champion from 2019. He has the veteran Tom Coronel alongside him. Of all the people on the grid, this man knows this circuit best, whether it be sitting alongside his wife, his child, all various corporate people. He has done a huge amount of laps around what is effectively a new Zandvoort, because the last time Dusan Borkovic was here in 2018, it was the slightly older, newer version that didn't have all of the new modifications to welcome Formula One in September. Looking like a good weekend for Audi. They've got Come To You Racing occupying three of the four spots on the front two rows of the grid. Nicola Bart, son of team owner at Come To You Racing, and thank you very much already for feeding me a crepe just before we got on air. That has given me that extra bit of boost that I needed. Mehdi Benani in the first of the Sebastian Loeb Elantras. That has been, up to this point, pretty successful. But now we've got the World TCR Cup moving forward. That is also having an effect, of course, on the global balance performance of all of these cars. And the success that we've seen in that and also in the European Series means I think it's going to get a little bit harder for Hyundai to be really a starring standout performance. Isidro Calles is the youngest in our field, the young Spaniard, engineered by Pepe Oriola, who is here this weekend. Franco Girolami, for me, the star of the Honda so far this season, but actually third of the Hondas for PSS. Have PSS not quite found what we see from Brutal Fish? It does seem as though it is like that. Jimmy Claret, the two Clarets with fantastic performances in Paul Ricard last time out. You will remember that Jimmy took the victory in the second race. And it was his brother who took the victory in the first race. Niels Langeveld is the other Dutch driver in our field, again with the Eru Prestige E-Dammer cheese helmet. And he is the second of our Hyundai Elantras with some experience of this new layout, but not the experience that Tom Coronel has. Everybody else on the grid, though, really is lacking experience in dry conditions around this circuit after FP2 was rained off. Free practice 1 was in dry conditions, though, and therefore we have been able to get some experience on the older tyres that obviously get carried through weekend per weekend. Usually they are used in free practice 1, and then setup for qualifying is run in free practice 2 on a new set of tyres, just to get a real feel for how the cars are handling. You'll get a chance to have a look around this brand new Zandvoort circuit. It's, I suppose, about 18 months ago it finished its real renovations. Maybe I'm being generous. And it took about 18 months to reprofile some of the corners. You can see the last corner especially is very spectacular, with a huge banked right-hand turn, which in touring cars is flat out and brings you on to the start finishing straight. Now, temperatures are relatively low. We've got humidity in the air that will allow the engines to run nicely. They will be looking to try and get some temperature into the tyres. There might be a few drivers out there who have kept the used tyre that they had in qualifying on the rear of their car. And let's have a look at the full grid then. Jack Young and Tom Coronel on the front row of the grid. Honda versus Audi. It's an all Audi second row with Dusan Borkovic and Nicolas Barth for Come To You Racing, and they were hampered in Paul Ricard and therefore hoping to have a good performance here. This is when you want to make hay. Mehdi Benani and Isidro Callejas on row 3. Callejas, I think, now the only rookie in our 21 car field. And then we have Franco Girolami in 7th and Jimmy Claret in 8th. That's for the cars we saw lined up on the grid. And actually, Claret's performance in the Peugeot, pretty impressive considering the ballast that they've been given because it was so successful last time out. Langeveld and Sami Taufluik line up 9th and 10th on the grid. And then Klim Gavrilov missing out on the reverse top 10. Really good Q1 performance, but just didn't really hook it up in the second of our qualifying sessions. Davidovski has experience from being here before, as of Martin Rieber. Matteo Hommler was also in TCR Europe field when we were last here in 2018. Would you believe? That was obviously on the older layout, and that was a bit of a festival of TCR that weekend because we sported what was then a new World Touring Car Cup. Leonov and Galash, 17th and 18th. Colombani and Gustav Birch is our new driver for this weekend. Very, very new to TCR in general, running in TCR Denmark. And to gain some extra experience has come and joined us. Teddy Claret with an issue, drops to the back of the field. Here is a look at that amazing last corner. This corner, not reprofiled, exactly how it's been for a good 20 years. But as the camera turns right, look how the circuit then bends. And the banking is absolutely spectacular. Feels very odd, apparently, in one of these cars. The car wants to go off left, which I can't really get my head around what's going on with the geometry, but such are the forces going into the car that the drivers are really fighting it. You thought the car would just be squashed into the corner and it would be an easy ride, but actually they are fighting the cars in these banked turns, which also includes Tarzan, turn 1, that's been remodified, and Hugenholz, which is basically turn 3. That is heavily banked to the left-hand side and really throws you up the hill into the slightly older section of the circuit. Cars lining up at the tail of the field, about to get our first race here at Zandvoort underway. 14 laps. Green flag at the tail of the field. Who's going to get the best of starts? Coronel knows how to race around here. Nobody else really does. The Honda's always traditionally pretty good, and Jack has made a great start in his Honda. He's clear of the field, and Tom Coronel has not made a good start. Nicolas Barth has managed to slither his way past 2 of his teammates and into second position for Nicolas Barth. Great stuff, but he'll now have Tom Coronel giving him pressure for the remainder of this race. All clean through turn 1. This is this little flick right turn 2, and then a massively banked corner through turn 3. Jack goes a little bit deep through there, but you can take that wide line. The lines that you see through these banked turns don't really make a huge amount of sense to the conventional racing line that you would expect. Now we're on the really old stuff. This is the original Formula 1 track from back in the 1960s, as is this particular corner, one of the hardest of the circuit, dropping down to the right-hand side, and this is then where they dive off that circuit when it was reprofiled in the 80s and into the newer Zandvoort before it was modified again most recently and added those amazing banked turns. Voyage of discovery for Jack Young at the head of the field. Clean track ahead of him, nobody around. And it's nice and wide here, so Matteo Hommler can throw the car up the inside, the older style Hyundai, and try and make up a few places. Side by side into a big braking zone here. Niels Langeveld trying to go around the outside, very committed on the brakes, and makes that stick round Jimmy Claret. Great stuff, and he's got some belief in the front end of his Hyundai, and now he's on the tail of his teammate Mehdi Benani. Benani in 5th position, with 3 Audis ahead of him, and then the Honda. So the Hondas further back did not make good starts. Callejas and Girolami 8th and 9th position, but Jack Young just absolutely rocketed off the start. Matto Homela getting himself up to 13th and starting the second group as Coronel looks down the inside of his teammate. Bernani with the wipers on momentarily. Was there a need for that? Because now they seem to be stuck across his windscreen. That could be distracting for him. And here comes the Dutchman, Niels Langeveldt, down the inside. A little bit of a kiss, a little bit of an elbow, and up a position. He'll now run deep into here, open the gap for Mehdi Bernani, who we saw in Paul Ricard likes to hug the inside line, but it means less momentum, and he actually falls behind Jimmy Claire. Has Bernani got more of a problem here than just his windscreen wipers? Doesn't seem to have the pace at all, does he? And already under pressure from Girolami and Callejas. Franco without his brother Nestor this weekend. Haven't seen Nestor in the paddock. And so going it alone at PSS, dives to the inside. That looks like that will be an easy move for him. Has he made it stick? No, Mehdi Bernani round the outside, has the momentum for the moment to hold on to that 7th position. But yeah, Franco Girolami, usually with Nestor or his teammate helping him out. And then you've got the other works Yas driver, Esteban Guerri, usually with the PSS team, with the Brutal Fish team. And helping out Martin Rieber. Haven't seen either of those two here in Zandvoort this weekend. Actually, the entry into Holland, seemingly on paper, pretty difficult. Lots of restrictions to get into the country, but actually, it's certainly coming from Europe. It hasn't been half as difficult as it seemed to be on paper. Right, what's going on at the front? Jack Young has been caught by Nicolas Bart. Those Audis are fast right now. And Coronel has been pushing Bart along. They've cleared a little bit Dusan Borkovic. Borkovic on his own as Bernani has been passed by Girolami for 7th, so that has happened somewhere on the last couple of corners. Such a weird line through there. Been watching the GTs all day, sending it hard into that banking, looking as though they're understeering, but they're not. It's just a very kind of triangulated corner that then allows you to fire yourself up and over the hill into Chevlac. This corner here, scene of many a motorsport moment over the years. A favourite for the Dutch fans when they're allowed in the circuit on track days, just sit there with their cameras and watch the public, Joe Public, make all kinds of mistakes. Much like you see from the Nürburgring. Jack Young very, very deep into Marlboro Bosch. Tom Coronel on the inside of Nicolas Bart, and again, great layout of the circuit allows these kind of passes to happen. No, Tom! Oh, contact between the three teammates. They both keep it on the island, but totally unnecessary from Tom Coronel there. And it slowed the two of them up, and Dusan Borkovic says thank you very much, up into 2nd position. Of all the people that needs a good result this weekend on home soil, it is Tom Coronel. He's in the fight for the championship, and let's not forget that Michael Ashkenaar is not here this weekend as a Works Cupra driver. He is responsible for one of the electric Cupras that is participating in Vallelunga for the opening round of that championship. And so this is where Coronel needs to get maximum points and absolutely destroy the advantage that Ashkenaar has, which is about 50 points. If Coronel wins both races, he might just about catch up Ashkenaar, but it's not that easy. Side by side, Dusan Borkovic and Tom Coronel. I will fight, said Borkovic after qualifying, and he is fighting, but he's fair fighting. These two old foxes of touring car racing. Tom makes it stick. Now Borkovic, who really said he's still struggling with the Audi. He still doesn't understand what he needs to do in this car versus the Alfa Romeo, the Seat that he's run before. Much shorter wheelbases, and it does seem as though TCR cars are getting longer and bigger as the years go on. If you compare even the Cupra, the old Cupra that we've got here, to the newer Cupras, there's a longer wheelbase, and that just means that you drive them in a different way, you rotate them in a different way. And Borkovic hasn't quite worked out how to do that yet. And look, he can't keep with Tom Coronel. Coronel now has a clear track ahead of him. He's had a few laps following Nicolas Bart. It'll be interesting to see what kind of discussions go on back at base when they get back to the paddock. It was a very aggressive move from Coronel. Now, we were investigating the start. I don't know why that was, but either way, race controller decided that everything is fine. No penalties for that. And I wonder whether they will look at the contact between Coronel and Nicolas Bart. As a reminder, Nicolas Bart, the son of the boss of that team. So don't be boshing him out the way. All of that chaos between the Audis has given Jack Young a decent advantage. 2 seconds is the advantage, but Coronel has just banged in. Is it the fastest lap of the race? Yes, it is the fastest lap of the race. Sami Tauflik under pressure from Klim Gavrilov. Looking really good, as I said, in Q1. Gavrilov was up in the top 5, but just didn't put a lap together in the second part of qualifying. Still a junior, still a young-ish driver. Young for our championship. And just look at how the lines differ as we now take a look back at the battle for 9th position. Viktor Davidovski in the diamond category, the old boys. First in that category ahead of Martin Rieber. As I say, Davidovski did come here before. Forget that PSS have got a lot of experience in TCR Europe, and Davidovski was part of the championship when we came here, when it was the very first year that it was basically a full championship. When TCR Europe first began, it was a single event, it was an amalgamation of other events, and then eventually we got to a point where we built a whole calendar and started touring ourselves. So what is the gap going to be at the end of this lap? Jack Young will be seeing that very clear yellow DHL Audi in his mirrors. He'll know exactly who it is, he'll know what that means. But for Jack, this is the opportunity to take his first victory in TCR, in the category. 2019 Renault Clio UK champion. But of course, with all of the difficulties that we had in 2020, he hasn't had a lot of experience in TCR. Yeah, look at the gap. Up from 2.1 down, Coronel has taken a 1.5 seconds out of him. And again, on that last lap, Coronel did a 44.7, Jack Young a 45.6, and 0.9 of a second on that lap alone. Gavrilov past Tauflik. Interesting to see how they're lifting up that inside left rear. Fast boys are really sending it into the banking and keeping the car planted. And these boys a bit further back are getting the car slowed up on the nose a bit more. More conventional style of driving a hairpin. But that's the secret about this track. It's so atypical. And that's where the banking and experience of the banking comes into play. I don't know necessarily if they are doing anything different with the setup of the car. Tom was very cagey about what was needed for a good car around here. Because of course, a setup of an oval car, very, very different to the setup of a street car. But of course, only a couple of corners here are actually oval corners. Honda versus Audi for the second half of our 13-lap race. I thought it was 13, and then I read 14 on our social media and got very confused. Coronel now picking up the slipstream beautifully off that last corner. The aerodynamics of the car affecting the bonnet, flapping around just a little bit. Coronel will know where he is faster. He said actually, after qualifying, he hasn't spent that many laps behind a Honda. He chose clear air in free practice 1 to do what he needed to do, so he doesn't necessarily know where he is stronger versus the Honda. But Jack Young's got the right idea, hasn't he, through Hugenholtz? Send it in hard. And Coronel happily following. This is the tricky one for Jack. Shivlak really requiring commitment, and the first couple of laps, you come over the brow of the hill, you don't really know it's there. You know it's there, but you don't know the severity of it, and you want to obviously try and make the entry as wide as possible, and there's a little patch of grass that can easily catch you out. That's what makes that corner so tricky. And of course, we had the torrential rain yesterday, and that means anywhere near the grass, you do start to pick up mud and wet stuff. Now remember, Coronel had a little bit of contact earlier on in the race with Nicolas Bart. I just wonder, on his that would be rear right, wouldn't it? I just wonder whether he's got a little bit of rubbing. I thought I saw a little bit of blue smoke, but it doesn't seem that obvious now. So Coronel taking 0.6 of a second out of Jack on the last lap. Now he's been stuck behind him. Has Jack upped his pace? 45.6 last time through. This time 45.7. So no, Jack can't find more pace. Coronel slows to his pace, but we know that Coronel has more speed than this. Borkovic still lies in 3rd position. Nicolas Bart in 4th. And actually Niels Langeveld on the tail of Nicolas Bart as well. So the second of our Dutch drivers fancying an opportunity. Jack very deep into Hugenholtz that time. There's miles of track on the inside. Tempted to try and tighten the line, Coronel. But then you just need the momentum up the hill, and any lack of momentum is amplified because you're climbing. Remarkably, Coronel yet to pick up a podium in 2021. He's been fast, but he's been unlucky as well. And there he goes, sends it up the inside. Oh, and Jack Young was definitely not ready for that one, was he? He turned in and did not expect to see the Audi on the inside line. And now Coronel protects the inside again on this left-hander. And it's a long left-hander, so it's really hard for a switchback. And Jack is the only way to do this now is to absolutely send it into the braking zone of the chicane. And is Jack able to do that? Is he close enough? No, he's not. No, he is not. So Jack Young losing out. And a bit further back, we've got the Hyundai Elantra of Niels Langeveld up to 4th. So 2 Dutch drivers making up a position each. And we've now got a new leader, Tom Coronel. Yet to pick up a podium at his home track, though. Now advantage very much him, but he's providing a huge slipstream, and the Honda is strong down the straights. That's something we do know. But Tom makes his car nice and wide, sits in the middle of the circuit. No chance of getting through, and now Jack needs to stick with him. Learn from the master, learn from the man that knows the most about this circuit. Oh, thought about sending it down the inside there, but Coronel had him covered. And it's really around the back of the circuit where the time is won and lost. The really complex stuff. Especially down through here. Relying on that left rear tyre to grip, to not step out on you. And then hard on the front left. As you take a look back at Borkovic, happily in 3rd position. But, oh, Nicolas Bart's dropped behind Girolami as well. So Bart has lost a position to Langeveld and to Franco Girolami, that Honda of PSS, coming alive on the latter half of this race. I wonder whether Nicolas Bart has just knocked something out with that contact with Coronel. Where's Mehdi Banani? Remember, he had issues. Yeah, he's dropped down to 12th position. So Banani and Bart both had little contacts, little rubs, but since those rubs have not had the pace. Banani in 12th position, down 7. Bart down 2 only, but he made a mega start, didn't he? And so that graphic on the left-hand side not necessarily demonstrating that he is struggling. The other man to struggle, Felice Jelmini. Now, Felice down to 16th spot. What's going on with him? He is one of our podium contenders, winners, sorry, in the first race of Le Castellet, 2nd spot there. Franco Girolami on the tail now of Niels Langeveld. Langeveld not with the same amount of experience in this Hyundai, the new Elantra, as his teammates. Experience of the Zandvoort circuit. But he's still learning this car. And can he hold on to 4th position? The pace isn't good because you've seen just how quick Dusan has checked out of this little battle. And by the way, the gap between Coronel and Jack Young up to 1.5. So Coronel checked out at the front of the field. Hasn't made it easy for himself, has he? A really difficult start. Dropped to fourth position by the first lap. He's had to fight his way through, but Coronel had the pace advantage to do so. In qualifying, by the way, thought he had pole position. You may have seen his social media. His engineer was not paying attention to Jack Young, didn't think Jack was behind him on track. And actually, the graphics on the timing didn't really show that Jack was going faster. So when Coronel snatched the pole position by just 1/100th of a second, they all celebrated. Tom was punching the air in the car, and then the poor old engineer had to get back on the radio and go, actually, Jack's stolen it from you. But at least he had the clear track, and he has managed to make it work for him. Big gap now. Jack maybe has asked too much of his tyres, up to 2.3 seconds. There's Borkovic in third, Langeveld in fourth. We haven't seen Borkovic on the podium either this year. He actually sits down in 12th in the standings. Such has been the disappointment. The Audi was not strong in Le Castellet, and he was still getting used to the Audi in Slovakia. So although he says he's still not quite got it totally under control, this is by far the better performance that we've seen from Duchan. Should also remember there's absolutely no data to suggest how the tyres are getting on. New tyres for this season from Hankook. TCR Europe has used various different manufacturers over the last couple of years. And with the track the way it is, these big bank turns, we don't really know how the sidewalls of the Hankooks are going to cope. So far, so good. We did see some punctures in Le Castellet, but the temperatures were super, super high there, and the tarmac is quite different. Here we're in a much more conventional temperature, at least, even if perhaps the banking is the question mark. But all is good so far. So there is an investigation between Coronel and Nicolas Barth. Contact between the two of them. We saw that, what is it, lap 3, something like that? And stewards are now going to look at it. There's also an investigation between car 66, which is Colombani and Poussier. The two teammates at Claret Sport have been having a go at each other at the tail end of the field. There is Coronel. Oh, I really hope that he doesn't get a penalty, because he'll have a chance to stand on the top step of the podium. He'll be able to pick up that bottle of bubbly. He'll be able to spray the champagne and touch the trophy. But will he be able to keep it? Also, of course, Tom not living that far away from Zandvoort, so he hasn't got his camper van with him this weekend. Able to go home in the evenings, spend some time with the kids and the wife. In fact, yesterday he was on television for the Formula One. So here is the move then. Throws it down the inside, has the inside line, and just starts to feed Nicolas Barth off to the outside, and there was a little bit of contact. Now, Barth is so far back at that point, left front to right rear. I think there was no way that Barth was going to be able to fight back on that. And I absolutely agree with our producer. Barth should have got out the throttle and let him through. So, but you can never trust the stewards to have the same opinion as the commentator. That is something I've learned over a few years. And so, fingers crossed, as Tom comes on to the final lap here. Jack Young has now matched him, so the gap has stayed at 2.6 seconds. And they're in the 46s now, would you believe? We started off in the 44s. The pace over 13 laps really does disappear. Good battle here, though. This is for third position now, because it kind of caught Dušan Borkovic. But I don't think we're going to have enough time left for this to go full-on frantic. Jimmy Claret in the Peugeot holding on. He'll have a good position tomorrow. Remember, we reverse the qualification result, top 10. So 10th position on the pole, and Jack Young will be in 10th, Coronel in 9th. And there is Isidro Callas, the best of our rookies. Just 3 rookies in the field. And Callas has been the standout. Oh, look at these two. They do have a good time, these two. Both diamond drivers, we like to call them, Poussier and Colombani. And even if they are at the tail of our field with just Gustav Birch behind, they're still at it, and they are both under investigation for whatever they did at some point in the early part of the race. They do love their racing. Right then, Coronel with just a couple of corners to go, including that infamous Arie Luijendijk-bocht, the massively banked last turn that's going to be so spectacular when Formula One come here in September. It's getting very, very dirty, isn't it, that apex? Typical touring cars, making a mess of the track. Round the final turn then, and his debut victory in TCR for 2021. It goes to Tom Coronel, the local boy, the master of Zandvoort, and Jack Young will be on the podium for the first time in his TCR career. Borkovic back on the podium again, holding off Niels Langeveld. That, by the way, is going to be probably the tallest podium that we've ever seen in touring cars. Jack is very, very tall, so is Dushan, and Tom is not short, that's for sure. Battles further down the field. Tauflik ahead of Davidovski. Bernani definitely with an issue down there. And then even further back, we have to wait for Felice Jelmini. So stories from Sebastian Loeb Racing, that's for sure, this evening. And there is Team Coronel. A couple of sponsors today with the team, a couple of guests. As I said, they fed me a crepe earlier, which I was very, very pleased with. Possibly the best catering in the TCR paddock this weekend. Come to you racing. Nicolas Bart goes flying past, and Coronel will have to do his very best to apologise. Although, as wheel-to-wheel contact, front to rear, if you're the car on the making the contact with your front, then I think it's game up, especially on the outside of the turn. Coronel waving to all the marshals. No doubt met many of them throughout his time here at Zandvoort. I don't mean by crashing at every corner, I mean he's just a very friendly chap. And thanking the marshals, who, by the way, did a sterling job yesterday to stay out in absolutely torrential rain that the PR guy here at Zandvoort has never seen before. It was unbelievable. 1.8 seconds the gap between Coronel and Jack Young at the end. Best result for Jack Young in TCR. Generally, Dusan Borkovic in 3rd position. Niels Langeveld will be happy with 4th, but he'll be disappointed to miss out on that podium. Just 3/10 in the end between the two of them. Franco Girolami come back to 5th. The car obviously working well at the end. Nicolas Bart down in 6th. Jimmy Claret, the best of the Peugeots. Isidro Callas, the best rookie. Gavrilov picking up 9th, and Sami Tauflik inside the top 10. His mentor, though, in 12th position with issues. And also down in 17th position, Felice Jelmini. Also question marks over why that Hyundai was not working particularly well. Joachim Galash 18th. Poussier, Colombani and Gustav Birch round out of 21 runners. And, oh, that's interesting. No, don't send Coronel to our paddock. Make sure they go to the podium. So the top 3 will head into the pit lane and go to the podium. And the rest will go straight back to their paddock. So that's what's going on there. And the paddock for TCR is in the centre parks. No, it's on the outside of the circuit there. Quite far away, though. It used to be a skid pan back when I used to come to Zandvoort back in the olden days. A Dutch victory. Shame there is no fans able to come here to Zandvoort today. We did have some fans at Paul Ricard last time out, but different regulations for different countries. Coronel has got himself on the top step of the podium. Hoppa! And oh, I haven't seen Pauline yet. But as Pauline, his nearly wife, his partner that he's engaged to. And has been for absolutely ages, but that's all good. And an absolutely great job. And there is Jack Young, just to prove how absolutely massively tall Jack is. Hugs all round, the man from Belfast. Oh, I hope he's not too disappointed. Ultimately, he has been beaten by a man who has done many more laps than Jack has done around here. And to join the tall parade, Dusan Borkovic will be also on the podium. There is his wife, expecting their second baby around November time. And there is Coronel, I think, explaining his contact with the team boss's son. Let's go down and hear how happy Tom is with our reporter, Mark James.
Tom, very many congratulations. The first win of the season and at home.
Yeah, it's one of those important races where you like to score for a home crowd. Of course, I know the track very well. I mean, I nearly drive every week here. Even on Monday, I still have a 2-hour race. So, I could see the guys were doing good lap times, but sometimes not consistent. I could be very consistent. One time I didn't see Barth. I overtook him. One time on the inside, one time on the other side. I thought, oh, no problem, because he knew I was a lot faster. So I never expected him to be there, to stay there, because you're there on the dirt. So, yeah, that was a pity. Then I put full course yellow button, because I want to talk to the radio, so my car was pop, 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 pop. So then Borkovic overtook me, and then I had to charge for Borkovic. And I saw Young, I saw he had difficulties after Schijfvlak and Marlborough corner, so I thought I have to do it there. But I have to do it directly, because then it will be a surprise, and that's what I did. It was a good race.
You said to us on social media that you thought the Hondas were quick in the straight, so you had to do it in the midfield, and that's exactly what you did.
Yeah, so the Hondas do it good. I also drove always with the Honda. I mean, it's a good brand, but now I'm with the Audi also in the World Touring Car Championship. Compared to last year, we're 50 kilo more heavy, so I knew it was going to be difficult. And I saw the speed traps, that they were a little faster, so I said, for sure, I would never going to overtake him here. And that's what I saw when I was behind him. So I knew when I saw a chance, I just had to smack it in there. And he was clever,
Well done.
Thank you.
And it was definitely a surprise. So here's this contact then, and Tom's absolutely correct. He would never expect Nicolas Bart to be staying on the outside. He's off on the dirt already. He's going to understeer out onto the dirt regardless of that contact, because he's on the marbles. And I think they were both very lucky to get away with that. That could have been 2 Audis into the barrier on the left-hand side. But then Coronel hits the yellow flag button after that. Now, that's something that Dusan Borkovic did in Slovakia. I've not heard that problem happen in the Audi before, but it's happened twice in one season. So maybe that button needs to be moved. Either way, Coronel still managed to do a little surprise dive down the inside of Jack Young. And you could see it was a surprise, because Jack was ready to turn into the corner, and then he looked to his right, and turned left again to avoid any contact. Throw it down the inside and hope for the best. That's the kind of thing that you can get away with here at Zandvoort, especially around that mid-section of the lap. It's so wide, it goes right to left to right. You can just send it to the apex, claim the apex, and then sort it out afterwards. When was the last time we saw Dusan Borkovic on a podium? It was a couple of years ago, of course. And Borkovic obviously missing out on most of last year's championship. So it would be a while. Oh, wow, it's not even 2019. So 2018 was the last time Borkovic was on a podium. And we have live television in Serbia, thanks to Dusan. So great to have him back. He's not 100% happy, is he? Kind of. Come on, smile, Dusan. There's Jack Young. Look, and actually, Jack's not that much. Dusan's like not a 6'9", something like that. So they're all on different steps of the podium, but they're about the same height, aren't they? Coronel will be yesterday. Yeah, exactly, Dusan. You're all at the same height. And Coronel obviously bringing up his helmet as well, thanking his sponsors. So I think Era Prestige is actually here today. looks. The national anthem is playing? Possibly. But we do have some noisy GT4 cars underneath, so that's why we're not quite picking up the national anthem for Tom. And so last night, Tom coming out of the car after FP2 in that torrential rain, jumping straight into his road car and driving to the studios to do TV, F1 TV in Holland, which he does when he can, and then back here this morning for qualifying. And the Pommery not spraying today, so it looks like that'll be taken and consumed a little bit later. We'd like to have a Pommery party in TCR Europe. And obviously with Tom being local, he can actually sit around and celebrate. Doesn't have to run off anywhere. So this is how the championship looks after that. Mikael Ashken is still with the championship lead, but that lead may well, if Tom gets a good run tomorrow, disappear to Coronel by the end of this weekend, with Ashken not here. Girolami up to third. Claire holds on to fourth because Banani not having a particularly strong run. And then Jack Young in sixth spot, obviously improving. Now what's going on here? Isidro KS, so best rookie. Jumping onto the top step. I don't know why Tom would have been on there again. Maybe we're celebrating TCR Benelux. He's not allowed to be a diamond. He's old enough to be a diamond driver, but he's not allowed because he's got too much experience. One of the tallest drivers, the two youngest drivers. Isidro KS, one of the youngest. Right, so there we go. Victor Davidovsky is our diamond driver. Jack is our rookie, and Isidro is our junior, or the other way around. They get little bottles of Pommery. I didn't see we had little ones. It's quite cool. Good day for Brutal Fish, that's for sure. And good day for Honda. Just making sure he's got the right trophy. Let's have a look at the points then outside of the top 6. So that is, that's the trophy category. So Bart leading that ahead of Jack Young and Davidovsky, the best of our diamond drivers. He's kind of racing Martin Rieber and Sylvain Poussière and Gilles Colombani in that group, but we kind of put them all together. Entirely sure how the point system works across 3 different categories, but they're all in the same one. But by the way, Nicolas Bart leading by 3 points over Jack Young right now. It's been a very, very enjoyable first race here at Zandvoort. We'll be back on air again at it's about 12:30 tomorrow. Here are the highlights of this first race. Join us tomorrow for race 2. So Coronel with a bad start, that yellow machine just not getting off the line well, and somehow Nicolas Bart managed to slither his way past Dusan Borkovic, who also didn't get off the line pretty well, and then ran the outside of Coronel. So initially, Bart looked to shoe in for second position. Now there was a little bit of contact with Yelmini as well, further back in the field. There it was there. Surely that wasn't enough to compromise his pace, but Mehdi Banani also had compromised pace in his Hyundai, and in fact didn't see that contact. Evgeny Leonov with a very dramatic moment, lucky to save that in his Cupra. And then this was the moment of the race, still under investigation. 2 teammates getting into each other. Eventual winner Tom Coronel and Nicolas Bart. That was a surprise move down the inside of Jack Young to take the race lead, and then Tom was not headed. A nice 1.8 second advantage over Jack Young, our pole man. And then a nice little battle for third position between Borkovic and Langeveld and Girolami. And congratulations quickly to Esteban Guerri, who's had a little baby, and that is why he's not here this weekend.